It's like 48 into 7. I'm working more than working than the normal routine because online life is absolutely different as people expect that online is easier to connect with people, but actually it takes a longer time for people to understand the concept and the work. So it becomes more tedious nowadays. So it's occupying a lot of times online more than any other work than to do.
Hello, ma'am. Welcome to Mitti Ke Rang podcast. We are very delighted to have you on board for today's episode. Uh,
Thank
so
you. Thank you
how
so much, Kushi.
so how has your work life been like these days?
It's like 48 into 7. I'm working more than working than the normal routine because online life is absolutely different as people expect that online is easier to connect with people, but actually it takes a longer time for people to understand the concept and the work. So it becomes more tedious nowadays. So it's occupying a lot of times online more than any other work than to do.
So anything new that you learned with the lockdown?
Professionally, I've learned that it is not necessary that any hindrance can stop your willingness. So, if you are a willing person and if you have the energy and the strength to keep going towards the goal and you understand why are you doing that work, nothing can stop. This is what professionally and in personal life I have learned that it is all in the mind. It's all where it starts and finishes.
Yes, that's true. So with the lockdown, that it was a very sudden change, and it really affected the school and the education system. And I personally feel that because my brother is also in school right now. So everything shifted from offline to online, and it was a virtual classroom that every school had created, which never did before. So how did you tackle with the situations, and what were the challenges that you faced?
The first challenge was, do we have to do that? That was the biggest challenge that every school leader and teachers had in their mind, because without that interaction very closely in a classroom, which is so private between the teacher and the children, suddenly vanished. And teachers never stopped working online, and they made sure that they're reaching out to each child during the interaction online. What mode that we were using to connect with children, how we were connecting to children, what exactly we have to keep in mind while we are connecting, was not sorted in the minds at all. It all happened and we started understanding each other as and when we started getting the queries from the parents or the teachers or the children. And then as and when the process of learning started, we realized that it is not exactly a teacher teaching the child. It is actually a teacher teaching a family. She's
Yeah.
actually, her privacy herself has been invaded. Everybody knows that Sharma ma'am now has an orange color curtain. Everybody knows that while she is working with us online, somebody in the house is also making noise. Everybody knew that her facial expression changes. Everybody knew that sometimes she's not very technically smart enough to do things as children are able to. So there were a lot of things which were exposing everyone, even the parents, children, and the schools and the teachers, of course. And this entire process made me feel that it was important. Maybe it happened during this crisis, and it is very sad to see that the buildings are closed and the venues are without children. But this part of life was very important for us to experience, because technology has always been a huge support to any school to make them number one school in the society. But the reality and the fact is that technology cannot connect humans the way schools and the buildings connect. Technology can make you understand, and knowledge can be imbibed, but experiencing emotions, experiencing what exactly one needs in their daily routine before the period and after the period is so essential for a childhood, which is badly missed by children. And to tell you the fact, teachers are missing the children badly. They also want a child to come to them and say, hello, ma'am, you're a little late in the class. Can you please come? Or there is a problem with me and can you help me? Not in front of the class, little later. My father wants to meet you. The PTMs, the addressing to each other with that formal smile and that personal touch in the eyes, all that is missing totally. So I feel that we have learned that this is not what the society needs. Society has to have face to face and that very sweet interaction of teacher and children in the school building itself. That is for sure.
A lot of personal touch and interaction has been missing these days now between the teachers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think a child coming to the class and not very active and not answering was troubling the teacher in the staff room. She always wanted to go back and ask the child that, what's the problem today? You're not the way you have been always. And then the child says, there's something very important I want to tell you. And that might be something the weirdest thing on the earth. It can be somebody pushed me outside the bus, and that push was not so hard that I didn't fall, but then that push is still hurting me. Those kind of things which you usually don't share with your parents all the time. The world brings you to the ninth cloud. The teachers bring you to that level by saying, "Oh, it's absolutely fine. You're the best. Come on." The reality is told in the family. That's another story altogether. But when you are with the teachers and your friends and peers, juniors and seniors, you get to know so many valuable information as a human mind to excel that you miss out on that screen for 1.5 hours or 2 hours. I absolutely don't agree. Online learning and teaching. I think this crisis has brought that learning beautifully exhibited to everyone.
Yeah, even this reminded me my childhood when you said that the students waiting in front of the staff room that to
Yeah,
complain
yeah.
and to take suggestions from the teachers. So I'm like, yeah, you nice. So
I
with this,
totally.
so with this lockdown and everything, it's a lot of that interaction has been missing. So how is your school and the teachers are working for the interaction between the students and creating a very good mindset for the students as well, so that they are not distracted with social media or maybe some other places that they should not be distracted with?
Well, to be very frank, this entire lockdown was also not expected by the teachers. So when
Yeah,
it came to them and to the leaders, we understood that this connection should not break. We should not get detached to children at this particular time, because this is the time they need us the most. So in the beginning of the week, that must be 1 or 2 weeks, we were mostly interacting with children by making sure what resources they need. Children were sharing their experience with teachers, what resources teachers might need. There were some of the parents who were telling each other that how exactly they would like the interaction to be, and things were going fine for about 15 days. And then after that, there was a little bit of saturation in just accepting all the information online, because 40, 30 children on a screen and a teacher. So the preparing of the ground rule, telling the children what is expected, what are we going to learn today, and then making sure that they can see each and every resource that the teacher is trying to share took a little time for the teachers also. But but it was understood for sure that children don't need knowledge and understanding all the time. There was a lot of other support the teachers and the teachers, parents, and the children needed. So there was a team of teachers moving around in each class, talking to children, talking to parents, minimizing their queries, trying to make them relax about the situation, telling them that the course, if not completed, doesn't matter. We will make sure that the child completes it in the new session, orienting the parents every after a week to let them know what exactly is the government letting us know, how exactly we need to move forward, to to wipe out the uncertainty in the minds of the parents was essential, was very essential, because uncertainty makes you feel very uneasy, and uneasiness brings a lot of queries, and lots of queries brings less of quality time of teaching but more of resolving. So
yeah,
to curb all that aspect, we wanted somehow that the orientation of the parent has to be made very clear from the very beginning, so that the parents are not stressed about the class academics, results, assessment, promotion. What exactly is going to happen if I don't have a laptop? What am I going to do if I don't have an internet connection? Is there any other way that you can help me by providing me with the children the need of academics and the knowledge? There were so many things that the government helped. They allowed so many resources available on the TV. They asked us also to send emails to the parents with the activities. So there were so many other ways that we were allowed to connect with the parents and the children. So that is one of the things that we did for sure. Orientation was the second thing that we made sure that happens with children and with adults, all of them. We made sure there is a lot of orientation for our teachers. Ultimately, the torch bearer was the teacher. And if she is not equipped enough with the information she needs to share with the parent who's under anxiety or with the child who's very quiet, she wouldn't be able to extend the help that the school wants to. So, and her personal life, her house also under lockdown, her children, her family, everything was on a stake. So, a very strong orientation of parents was also done during this time.
Yeah, even teachers have suffered a lot because of the lockdown, because they have their family and their work at the same time. So yeah, it's been a very it might be a very challenging time for you for the first 1 month especially, right?
The first month was very challenging, looking after the time schedule and the security online. These were
Yeah.
the two aspects that I really fought for, because there were children who were taking advantage of Zoom. There were some external unwanted people who were coming on the Zoom, and various other people who were trying to hamper the class. Teachers were having a lot of issues using online classes because of these interruptions. So that was one. Second was the time duration that you expect that 30 minutes is enough, but that was not becoming enough. But the other challenge came up that screen time cannot be high. So both the things were so contradictory to each other that how exactly that should a lesson plan be made? And lesson plan should be made not one way. That was another challenge. Third challenge, it should be
Yeah.
interactive. Children and teacher should be able to participate equally, at least that the learning outcome is understood to at least 70% of the class as an average.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know what a child is doing behind the screens if you don't make it interactive, actually.
Absolutely.
Also, in your
Totally
lifetime
agree.
being a principal, what challenges did you face? Like a child wants to do something, a student wants to do something in his life, and maybe parents want something else for that student. So, is there any challenge that came up in front of you, and how did you tackle these kind of challenges?
For my personal life or with the children I've been with.
Or with the students in your school?
Okay, so that has been a challenge from the very beginning of my career in the school. That a child always wanting to do something else, but parents want them to do something else. Child was always wanting to be a journalist, and the father always wanted her to be a lawyer. The child wants to do medical, and the father wants her to do engineering. The child wants to open a business, and mother wants him to join a government job. So the dreams that the parents have are so strong within them, to be very frank, and believe you me, that they start conditioning the child from the very young age of their childhood.
Yeah.
So actually the child is making beautiful pictures, and the child wants to become an artist. And when the parent meets me and says, how beautifully she sketches, she's going to be an amazing doctor. She has such a good hand on drawing things. And I'm like, oh my God, like she's again taking the drawing towards what exactly the child is going to do as a career for what the mother or the father have already thought. So I could see that silence in the children till the year 2014. I could see that silence. But after that, I see that children are smart. They have now started making sure to let their parents know what they like and what they want to do. And, I'll give you a small example. I was learning car. And when I was learning car, I told one of my mentors, my guru, he was telling me, so when are you going to drive car and come to school? I said, sir, I'm going to start at this time and I'm going to reach school this time. So he said, you have to be a little more earlier than what you're saying. I said, sir, see, I'm going to follow all the rules. on the road and I'm going to drive on 40 wherever required. He said the horn will be so hard to the ears that you will have to speed up your car. You will have to change your schedule. You will have to reach the school the way all the other people on the road are wanting you to move ahead until you really want to block everybody morning 7:20. And exactly that I could see happening as a revolution in children, that there are a lot of things that I can do, I can perform, I can demonstrate, I have a challenge, I will go ahead with. And another socio-economic change that has come in the society, like if I can see till my generation, I was struggling to buy a house. I wanted to have a car. I paid half of my life. Till date, I'm paying EMI of my house and paying EMI of my car. But my son wouldn't have to do that. He has a house, he has a car. So the need of the child has changed. So the expectation of the parents has changed. So I know that end of the day, if I'm no more, at least there's one house a child can survive in. So the need is not now to start from the scratch. The need is now to build up from a particular scale. So children have a different way of making their lives and want to improvise the quality now than the quantity, because the quantity has been already gathered by the parents. So child is now no more pushed that if you don't earn, who's going to feed? If you don't earn,
Yeah.
who's going to pay the EMI? If you don't earn, who's going to get this girl married? There are a lot of things that has reduced in the society as an earning aspect. It's more to do with quality. It's more to do with how will you define your life as, rather than how will you find your life as. So things have changed, and children now are knowing to prioritize their options and careers, and to be so happy to let everybody know there are so many avenues open now other than these professional 4 degrees, medical engineering, government and non-government, that I am sometimes surprised to know some of the profiles children tell me. One of the student of mine last to last year came and said she's a life coach.
Oh,
And I said, what's a life coach? She said, oh, you don't know what's a life coach? People need it badly. People need to know and want to confess to somebody privately about their professional life, and they want guidance in it. So I have done that training, and I make sure that I'm very nicely giving those appropriate suggestions to the people who need it, and I get earning for the same. So this is the kind of a huge change in career option, socio-economic, and the way that children are now demonstrating their needs.
yeah, that is wonderful how things are being evolving now. Except for the,
Yes,
lawyers, being a doctor or an engineer, everyone has to come out of this vicious cycle that has been created by the society for us.
absolutely, absolutely. Like for example, now we know that online academics can happen.
Yeah,
Now we know that online coaching can happen. Now we know that teaching can take place. So people who want to now start working online on teaching can get options online teaching classes.
how
So there
very
are a lot
true.
of lawyers. Lawyers have got such a good opportunity, especially cyber law. They know they will be so much in demand for a very long time. If somebody is being bullied on the online, they can easily complain, and a lawyer and a judiciary can help them. So this again, job profile has come up in a great swing. Similarly, I see that music, art has come up beautifully. People want to see such kind of work and get connected to it. So these are the kind of things that people are coming up with as a job profile.
So, with this lockdown, do you think that students need to create or work on the skill development as well? And if like yeah, so which skills they should develop in and work on?
Ultimately, anybody getting education in the school was expected to have a skill. And that is something that I was from the very beginning wanting, that schools should have skill development classes. Now, you have a knowledge, you have an understanding, but where to apply it? What
Yeah,
do you gain out of it? How exactly am I going to earn money through it? How exactly am I going to survive with that skill? Is very important. Some people want to do business. how to do a business, what to do in a business, what is entrepreneur skills. Does communication has any part in it? Do you need technology in it? Do you need accounts knowledge in it? Do you know what is registration of a company? Do you know what's an NGO? Have you prepared an NGO? Have you tried a small business in the school with the community, like the school children and the teachers? Have you been able to prepare a file for the same? Have you shown a plan? Have you shown a policy? Have you shown a profit? Have you been able to do such three strategic things when you do a business? So when you actually put a child in that environment, let me tell you, that environment is unknown to the child when you tell him, do a business of taking care of children, of the teachers in the school. So that's a business. That's a business model. So if a child has to plan, they have to see what kind of time duration they'll get free in it. Then they will think, okay, what is the kind of policy I have to create? Like, no teacher can just bring a child to me and say, now take care of the child. We need to have a team, we need to have policy, we need to have ground rules, we need to have a documentation, we have to tell the parents these are our responsibilities, these are not our responsibilities. So these all things come in a policy. And then after doing all that effort, after making sure that I get some food, I get a helper, I get a room, I get an investment done by the school for my business, am I able to later get some profit out of it after paying to the people who I owned? So when the child and a team does this entire process, they realize the effort, they
Yeah.
realize the nervousness of not being able to pay on time. They realize they want money and the person expected to pay for it is not paying. So how exactly am I supposed to convince them? How should I articulate the same thing in their perspective? How should I make the other one feel that this business is very important to you, not to me? You know, when they do a business, they fail in a business, they are guided in the four walls of the school where there's no scrutiny of law, where there is no shame of failure, where there is nobody talking about the failure in a business which they might try at a stage of 21, 24 years and maybe not able to survive with so many remarks from people. But when they are inside the school, it's a kind of a project. So
Yeah.
they're beautifully doing it with a team. So it's also an awareness of how to do business, as well as it's a trial. How do you call it? A demo of doing it in real life. So this kind of practice, when comes into school, will bring a different kind of a citizenship and citizens in our country, because we had uh, we had children educated but not educated because they were not getting the right jobs for what the school was preparing them. Now, if I teach a child doing Pythagoras theorem and he's topping in maths, but if he's not able to clear his engineering, what else? Does he have a plan B? So, does a child think that they can do something else other than engineering by imbibing some skill in the school itself? So, I think that one aspect was always wanted and has come up now in the new education policy, that
Yeah.
from grade 6 you can pick up one of the skills, and then after 12th you'll be able to get a certification for the same. It will help a lot to the youth tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the second thing which I felt that always should have been there should be no examination as such, but there should be assessments. Assessments are performance based. Assessments help you to recover from a failures and again attempt and then redo a paper or a skill, and you are able to then define new things the way you want to go ahead with your own pace. That helps a lot.
Yeah, that is true. The new education policy have actually made a lot of changes, which is very beneficial. It's a need of an hour actually. It should have done like very
Absolutely.
earlier.
I know. I think 34 years is a very long time it has taken to change. But I want to let you know one thing, that challenge is still going to be there.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I see the major challenge is going to be, every day the challenge, whatever we had till now, I think that was also not being done the way it was expected to be done in the schools. Because the major challenge comes from whether the teacher is able to implement asked from her to the child. That was important. So to bring the teacher again on the board for doing the similar task, Maybe the modus operandi has changed, the method has changed, the outcome has changed. But again, the source to changes is the teacher.
Yeah.
So we really have to work very hard with the orientation of the teacher, needs of the teacher, practice of the teacher, support to the teacher, and teacher coaching. We have wonderful learned teachers. The teachers need to be coached. What exactly does the child need, and how the new education policy wants them to be translating to the children? That's very important.
Yes, that is true. I mean, I'm very happy with the new education policy actually. Personally, like, yeah, I feel that it's been a very long time. It should have been implemented a long before, but it's okay. So, you have also created, you are LinkedIn Spotlight 2019. So, you also created a very nice personal branding across. So, how did you come across the LinkedIn, and what was your journey been like? And what was, uh,
It is
I
limited the
guess,
Zoom time. It's going.
yeah. There's some problem. Uh, shall we
You
start
want to
a
redo?
new? Should we start a new?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So basically, you have created a very nice branding, personal branding with your LinkedIn profile, and since you're a LinkedIn Spotlight 2019, so I want some tips that how you created and how was the journey and how you started with the LinkedIn.
Okay. See, I'm a person. My basic nature is also to interact with people. I can't do an interaction, or I can't keep reading a book and I don't get a feedback. It doesn't interest me for a very long time. If I read a chapter, I want to discuss it with someone. I want to know how exactly the same has been perceived by someone else, and am I looking at the same thing in a different perspective? That kind of a curiosity is inbuilt in me. I have never been very silent with information that I gained. I have been discussing with my brother when I was young, with my peer friends when I was with them, with my teachers, with my parents, with my relatives. I'm known to be very vocal about what I read and what I get to know in the society, and I try to exchange it with lots of people. So that's my basic nature. So when I started working online on social media, I found Facebook very interesting because it had the option of video, it had the option of picture, it had an option of text. But then the community was different altogether. They were all about birthdays and anniversaries and shairi and poem and heartbreaks and a lot of personal things in it, uh, which was very interesting to me. But my half of my day used to be too much into professional life of education. So I said, okay, fine, let me try Twitter. So when I went to Twitter, limited number of words, and the people who were interacting on the Twitter were very professional in the sense, the policy makers, if I may say, and the ones who are talking absolutely to the point with very minimal interaction. Again, that was strangulating my thoughts. Then I thought, okay, let me come to Instagram. But then Instagram was very youthful. It had the latest thoughts. It had information about the youth today, what they think and what they think and perceive happiness is for them, which was not very relative to me. Then I thought, okay, fine, let me try LinkedIn. And then LinkedIn was a breakthrough. I had a choice of professionals there. I knew that if I'm from education, I can always connect to many educationists. And I started sharing my daily experiences on the LinkedIn. I never knew there is a spotlight kind of an accreditation from the LinkedIn ever till I received it. So the process was very beautiful. I used to remember narrating it in so many interviews of mine, that how did I feel when I became Spotlight 2019. There was a call which I received, and this call said that you have to fly to Mumbai for an interview for being the Spotlight 2019. So I said, see, I wouldn't be able to come because of various other reasons that I had at that particular time to be in the school. So they said, okay, fine, we'll come to your school. And that was like, oh God, that's what they want to do with me, and they want to record me. And I said, okay, fine, please come. And I said, how many people are coming? They said there were 30 people who are coming, and we'll be having gadgets, we'll be having cameras, we'll be having lights, we'll be having a lot of stuff in our hands. So uh, we would like to come in the school campus and do that. So I said, oh, that's going to be great. But then school is going to be running. So I had to take permission from my management, because in the running school, so many people with so many things in their hand, maybe, it's not required by the thought of a management. But my management in one go said, definitely go ahead, call them. And I was waiting for them. And the day the recording had to happen, before that, one day, a crew of 4 or 5 people came in. One of them was a director, one of them was a script writer, when one of them was a cameraman, one of them was a dress designer, and a makeup artist, and everybody. And I said, what's going to happen? So they said, we're going to tell you what color sari you're going to wear or dress you're going to wear. We're going to see what other places we're going to take the recording. That entire feeling of being recorded in my temple, I would call my workplace as my temple. It actually made me so happy that this is the place from where I share all my experience to the world on the LinkedIn. And this is the place which is going to be today recorded. So that entire feeling in itself was so overwhelming that they had to tell me so many times, can you smile a little less? Can you smile a little less? And I was so happy, and children were so happy, teachers were so happy, the helping staff was so happy, and everybody was feeling as if there's a shooting happening in the school, and children were looking at me from the stairs, talking to me, coming to me, asking me what it is all about. So, what is a LinkedIn spotlight? More than that spotlight award in my hand, it was the curiosity in the eyes of the children that, did you share my story? Did you talk about me also? Did you say something about what exactly we feel? Then I showed them the LinkedIn post that I put, and then the children were so happy to see the experiences which they felt. Yes, it definitely has an impact on everyone. When we can see that happening to us, then it must be happening to many others. So that was a brilliant and a beautiful journey of Media Spotlight 2019. But it was never intentional. Let me tell you something, that my purpose was to share as much as I can, and that purpose was liked by many, shared by many. Uh, Followers were there. I have more than 30,000 followers, not yet, but then around 30,000 followers who actually wait for a post. They want to talk. They're connected on a group on the WhatsApp. They share emails with me. They ask me, are you doing something new? Do you need some feedback? That's the kind of environment I wanted. That's the kind of place I wanted, where sharing is without any hierarchy. Sharing is without thinking, will she copy what I'm doing? Sharing should not be of a feeling that somebody's taking away something from you. Sharing should be with a feeling of, it'll give me exponential outcome after I share. So that's the kind of a feeling I always had while to share. But I was so happy when I saw LinkedIn showcasing that aspect so beautifully, so methodically, so professionally, that it gave me a rigor to keep working on it. Yes, definitely. If you say later on, I understood it's like a individual branding. But if you see my spotlight video, if you see all that is recorded in it, it's all my children, my school, my teachers. So it never became a personal branding. Yes, it became the school branding along with it. But yes, personally, I'm spoken about at various places, and I like about it. I like that is being acknowledged by people of like-minded community. I like it.
So whenever a person start with the LinkedIn, they have the conception that it is for the jobs, it is a place for the professionals. So how do you tackle with this situation? Like, okay, if someone wants to
It
come
is.
here,
Yeah, it is. It is a platform for jobs for sure, because
yeah.
asking for a job is not the right way to ask for a job. But to exhibit what you know is you're creating a very strategic move towards what you have in you for people to hire you. So whenever we take an interview, whenever we do rounds, whenever we do demos, we want to know how exactly the teacher journey has been. So when I see a teacher on the LinkedIn and her exhibiting of work, and how exactly does she take her work, and how committed she is to share it with many more, gives me a reassurance that she's the kind of a person who doesn't need to be pushed. She can propel herself, and she has that energy to take forward a huge group of energy with her. That's the children. So that gives me a little bit of insight of a person's professional side, especially when you look at the person at the LinkedIn. So it's not actually posting for a job, but actually posting yourself or to exhibit your work. It helps you a lot to find a job for sure. But if you don't find a job, you find a network. The network is very important. Word of mouth is very important. So if somebody knows you, they will definitely let you know. Okay, fine. I know a person called Khushi Tiwari. She's very good as a speaker. Took a wonderful interview. I think she's not at all camera shy. She can be great for this job. So, through this entire episode, I connect you to someone else. And maybe there might be a list of 100 people who might be waiting for a profile. But then when somebody gets somebody like who's already prepared for the job, why not pick them up?
Yeah.
So it does give you a network.
Also, whenever someone starts with LinkedIn and maybe with any platform, maybe it's a Facebook or Instagram, you have this fear being judged and anxiety. Okay, is it right or not? Maybe I'll be accepted or not. So, did you have this feeling before starting?
Yes. When I started, I'm 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 born in this world where conditioning it comes into the family. If I wear a nice dress, I'm liked by so many people. Everybody appreciates me. They will talk to me minimum, but they will be very happy to see me like that. So I'm being judged at every minute. If I am speaking very loudly to my mother, people will judge me that she must be very outspoken. She has no shame. She has spoken like that to her mother. So judgments keep happening anywhere. Either it is social media, either it's your personal life. The only thing that one has to be very careful about uh, online and social media is that you have to please take care of feelings of others. And there are people who don't take care of that. They want to rip you apart with their comments and define you as you're good for nothing and various other things on the social media. So the purpose why you are going on the social media has to be understood by the individual very well, and digged inside the mind that I'm not doing it for you, I'm doing it for myself. So if somebody is not happy with the explanation, if I have been given an opportunity to, doesn't matter, I'll ignore it. So there are a lot of reasons why anxiety comes, and the fundamental reason is highlights. So if I want to highlight myself, I have to sometimes be fake, because you will be highlighted only when you're a little different than others. And when you become different than others, you have a little fakeness in whatever you're doing. So to maintain that fakeness is also an art. If you're not able to do it in every post of yours, or keep doing it, you will be under anxiety and pressure. The second thing that I feel is that people are not interested in the post, but more interested in how many likes, how many people read it, how many comments have I received. So that brings a lot of anxiety, because again, your reason to post is something else. So in case you have reasons which are real, which are reachable, which are honest, which are not competitive, which are not complex, you will have no anxiety, because you've done a task for yourself and you're happy it's posted. People like it, it's a great feedback. People don't like it, it's an excellent feedback, because then you're not going to do that again. So, whatever you do on the social media is a learning. Now, if the learner has to take those feedbacks and those likes or dislikes or no likes as an outcome of the post, then you better don't go on the social media. It'll kill you, because it's going to happen. People are of different mindsets, different likings and dislikes, different needs to approach the LinkedIn. They have a different comfort in the language. So you can't satisfy everybody. So there is a balance that you have to keep inside your mind. Why are you going on the social media? And how to withdraw yourself from any competition. So that's going to help anxiety, which keeps happening in the people. I'm not talking about youth. It's also among people who are above 50 years of age, who are on the
Yeah.
LinkedIn and on the social media, who are very, who always want to know what exactly is this media or this post going to give me back. Their reputation, their ego, their happiness, all relies on the comments of someone else. Then that's not the right place to expose yourself.
So to sum it up, it's basically be yourself without hurting others, and don't judge yourself with the likes or the comments. Just do what feels right to you, basically.
Absolutely, because if you think that I am today going to put up this picture which I'm sitting here as, and you write you're looking very nice. Some may write, oh, it's very green. Some may write, oh, what kind of a background is that? People will have different kinds of opinions. So it's a learning from an opinion if you want to learn through it. But if I'm adamant, I love this red color, green color, I will not remove this green color. I'll keep wearing it in every interview. So it's up to you how you want to take every comment or any kind of suggestion coming on the LinkedIn. For
Yeah.
example, I still remember there was a very simple question that I had put on the LinkedIn. It was a single question I still remember, and there were thousands of suggestions that how could you write this question? How did this woman do this? Some people started hating me on the LinkedIn. People withdrew as followers with me. Some people wrote me special and private messages that don't do this. Can you just remove that comment that you've written? So there are different kinds of uh, thought variations among people which are uncontrolled. It's an uncontrolled environment that you send your post at. So to withdraw, it's very easy. But to stay and stick to what you've written, if you're honest, you know why you've done that, and none of that comment matters to you, go ahead.
Yeah, that is really true. It's like be yourself no matter what. It's your opinion.
Absolute, absolute.
And
Yeah.
these are
But
the
the only
place
two,
where
three
you put
things
your
that I
opinion.
always keep telling, yeah, I keep telling the children and my students and the peer members is don't hate anybody with their opinion. Please do not. Please be empathetic with everyone who writes whatever there, and please do not use any plagiarism. Please do not do something like referring somebody's picture with your name and things like that. Be very honest, right? It referred from. It diffuses the whole plagiarism. It diffuses all copyrights. So if you just write these things are from there, the entire thought process of copying vanishes, and very clearly anybody can read it that she's referring some other's post. So the originality is still intact. So that helps a lot in the social media.
Yeah, true. So for wrapping up, I have last question for you. So if you
Yeah,
want to give
please.
advice for yourself, 5 years younger yourself, what advice will that be?
For social media,
For anything, personal life or professional life.
I think this time which has come to the world had never ever come in generations. I still remember my father was in the 71 war, and he told me that when I was in the battlefield, still the trains were running, the aircrafts were moving. The only thing that used to scare him then was the lights off in the night for
Yeah,
every house. That was the scenario of the war. This is worse than a war. This is nobody wants to help each other because the fear of death is so high that you can't even go and meet the people in your own family who are not well. So this is a very very different kind of a emotional time for everyone, and this time has taught us that nothing will help you but your intelligence to survive will help you. So if you are a PhD, if you're a doctor, if you're an engineer, if you are whatever, but if you don't know how to survive in the community by talking, empathizing, caring, understanding, and learning throughout and changing with the time, you can't survive. I have come to know from so many that the fear reduces the immunity. The stress reduces the immunity. So many people were very healthy during the lockdown period, but because they were so fearful about the entire fact of uncertainty, finances, living life with a person in the house with whom they never wanted to live with, and not being comfortable with the environment around, that they fell ill, and they have not been in a good shape for a very long time. So I think your own intelligence to survive will help you a long way. So being very independent is very important. To know how to cook is very important, and to know how to work technically is extremely essential. And this is what I would like to let the youth, let everybody know, that keep learning, keep reading, keep changing with the time and the circumstances. Do not be rigid at all, and have that all skills to survive in this situation. If you can survive this time, you can survive any time.
Yeah, this time never seen, like it's been never seen by anyone till now. It's a very new thing for everyone.
True. Absolutely do.
So thank you so much for coming here and giving your time in this podcast.
Thank you so much, Kushi. The way you have organized this entire program was complimenting. It
Thank you
has
so
really
much.
helped me a lot to make sure that I'm on time. I am given all the thoughts around the video and the requirements and resources, the time schedule. You were very good as a convener, and thank you so much for inviting me for this program.
Thank you so much for the appreciation. Pleasure is all ours.